Welcome to the Connected Growth Coaching Podcast, where we support women to rediscover who they are so they can thrive in all parts of their lives. Your hosts, Jen Heilman and Amanda Kingsley, share with you unique life coaching resources centered around the power of the mind and the ancient practice of feng shui. All right, we're back.
Hi, Amanda.
We are in our groove. Another week talking about the feelings of motherhood. Stages of motherhood. So the one we're talking about this week is
comparisonitis. Right. Who's feeling this, right? I know this is huge, right?
Huge.
Especially going through motherhood, of course, entrepreneurship, it's huge as well. And that's what we were talking about before we even started was, is it something that comes from our entrepreneurship days or from motherhood? Like what's the more dominant thing? And, that's where we, came to realize that it is just such a huge thing in both. I think about how many times did I compare myself, when my kids were little and even now, with other moms and how are they doing it all and how are they keeping it all together? I love this one story that comes up in my mind of bringing my daughter to a birthday party.
Yeah.
And always, having the last minute of, getting the gift and like, where's the bag and the tissue paper and
Damn you, birthday parties.
Right? There's just always so many obligations and, all of that kind of stuff. And we rolled up to the party and she's like tossing the present into the gift bag and putting the paper on top. And guess what? Some of our dear friends opening their car door, and they're doing exactly the same thing.
Oh, nice.
And we were just laughing, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm such a bad mom, that this is where we're at. And thank God they were doing the same thing. So we had, this chuckle over that. And it's just, that's the reality, right? Yeah. We think everybody else has got it so much better, they're doing it better, and when you have those moments where you're like, oh,
you were last minute too.
Right. And pretty much everybody else in here, maybe they got the gift, but then there was something else that went, decidedly wrong during their day, so
comparison starts so early too. It's like right from the beginning, like your birth versus my birth, your nursing, breastfeeding, formula feeding versus how do you feed your baby versus how do I feed my baby?
Right.
Who's crawling at what month and who's talking
sleeping.
At what month?
Yeah.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
So it starts so early and the culture,
right, it starts even before they're born, right? Like how are, I'll have a natural birth, or I wouldn't think of having medication, and I didn't even read the cesarean section part of the book because I was like, there's no way. Well, why do I need that? I'm having a natural birth.
Right. And
surprise,
another mama is like signing up her date. She's like, I'm going to have my baby this day.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But then there's so much energy around that comparison. And so it starts right off the bat and it does not stop all the way through.
Right. Exactly.
It's really intense, and like there's some themes around this like comparisonitis that we want to release the pressure for you. So like a little bit of pressure release. And we see them, just like Jen said at the beginning, like we see so much of this in entrepreneurship. And actually before we got on the podcast just now, we were like, wait a second, we don't have to do it like so-and-so does it.
Exactly.
Because it's really easy to default to that story. Like I'm supposed to do it the way other people do it, or it's supposed to look the way other people have it look.
We model, we're geared as humans to model other people's behavior, because if we're doing something that we've never experienced before, then we look to somebody else to show us how to do it. And that's where we run into trouble, right?
Yeah.
Is because we need to be tuning into our inner strengths and our inner wisdom to understand, what works for us. I mean, there is obviously, if you've never done something before, it's great to see,
to learn from other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Or to know that it's possible.
Right. And to see what they're doing, but then choosing to use different pieces of that for what works for you, not modeling it exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we wrote down like a list of feelings that come up around comparison, in no particular order. And we'll run through as many of those as we can in the next few minutes. But like the first one we wrote in no order was never feeling like you're doing it right. Yeah. And that's like the birthday party story. Like I was supposed to have it together.
Right.
Before. You're not supposed to shove the present in the bag before you get out of the car.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It's
and
like,
purchase it on the way to the birthday party.
Yeah.
Again. That's my theme.
And there's this feeling of like, I didn't do it the right way.
Right. Yeah.
I wasn't prepared enough.
Right.
There was a way it was supposed to be done and I didn't do that, or I can't do that. Mm-hmm. And everyone else knows how to.
Right. Yeah.
And that makes me different. Right. And as human beings, we just want to feel like we belong, right? We don't want to feel like the outcast who can't figure it out. And so there's this feeling around comparison where it's like they're doing it right and I'm doing it wrong. Right. Mm-hmm. And I never get it right. And, it comes
if I was a better mom, I would have had this planned out and I would have purchased it, weeks ago and had the gift all laid out. If I was a better mom. Right.
So right along with that comes the next little bullet point in our list, which was wondering how others make time.
Right.
So I love that this birthday party example is awesome.
Yeah.
So you're shoving the tissue paper and the gift in the bag and you're thinking to yourself, like, how do other moms do this?
Right.
Like, how do they do it?
How do they have the handmade cards?
And then you open the car door and they're shoving it in just like you are. And you're like, oh, they don't all do it.
Right.
Like you make these assumptions like that other people create more time or have more time or they have less responsibility than you, or like this question of like, how do other people make time? And the answer is most of them don't.
Right. Right. Exactly.
We're all shoving the present in the bag. And if we're not, then we maybe aren't making dinner, or maybe we're late to pick our kids up, or like just chilling out and going like, we're all good at some things.
Right.
And we're not so good at others.
Right.
And
choosing to be like more in a supportive role rather than a judgmental role, right? I think we all just slip so easily into that judgment rather than being like, hey, it's cool. You know, like I get it.
Yep. We all have, I mean, this like both makes me want to scream and gets me so excited at the same time when people are like, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And I'm like, one hand, it's like so amazing. And on the other hand, it's infuriating, but it's true. It's just flat out true.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's just where and how we decide to use our time.
Right.
So comparing yourself to other people and thinking they have more time or better time than you do, it's just a waste of energy.
Yeah,
it's just a waste. Another thing on the list was same themes here. Like everyone else looks like they have it all figured out. Same thing. Like they figured out how to make time. They figured out how to do it right. Nope.
Right. Exactly. Nope. Not at all.
Probably just an illusion. And even if it's not, there's other pieces to that story. Another one was that the grass is always greener in someone else's yard, right? Like,
and then you get over there and you realize they have patches and dead spots, and exactly. It's all perspective.
Or like their grass is really pretty, but their house looks like a scene from Hoarders. Like, it's like it's just not. Like the prettiest grass is right where you're standing, no matter what it looks like. And even if it's not pretty, it's perfect for you.
Right.
Like, even if it's dead and dry and brown, like
Mhm.
it's where you're at right
Yep,
now.
it's
And
just
the
where you're
fact
at.
that you're there makes it perfect.
Mhm.
Just be okay with it. Because it's never as green as you think it is somewhere else.
Right. Absolutely.
It's just
Mhm.
not. Another one was always trying to catch, like playing catch up. Like there's this
Mm. I
piece of,
hate that feeling.
yeah.
Yeah, it makes me crazy. Yeah.
And when you're
Mhm.
comparing yourself to other people all the
Mhm.
time, you're most likely like trying to catch up to
Mhm.
where they are
Right.
versus just being okay where you are,
Right. Mhm.
learning the lessons that you're learning right here.
Right.
There's
Exactly.
no catching up. There's
Mhm.
no, life isn't like a race. There's a book. Do your kids have any of the Jamie Lee Curtis books?
They don't. Oh, I've heard of those though.
There's a Jamie Lee Curtis book called What's the Human Race? Something like that.
Oh, genius.
Yeah, it's really genius.
Uh-huh.
So it's all about that. Like, is it a race or
Mhm.
is it not?
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's a really
Mhm.
cute book.
Yeah.
I like her books a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that whole the race is, like trying to catch up. That reminds
Yeah.
me of entrepreneurship, right? We're
Yeah.
again comparing ourselves to someone that started 2 or 3 years ahead of us, right? And so how can we ever be caught up to them, right? We can use them as an example and we can cheer them on, but when we start to get into that defeated mode of we'll never catch up to them, well, we're not, we're
We're
not
not
going to catch
supposed to
yeah,
either.
yeah, exactly. They
Yeah.
are on their own path.
Yep.
They're doing it their way and they are years literally ahead.
Yep.
Yeah. So
And you will never catch up, so
Right.
don't try.
yeah, so stop.
Like,
Yeah.
we're on podcast number 8.
Right.
And someone else has been running a podcast. They're on like 450. Like,
right. Mhm.
well, if we both keep podcasting, it is impossible that we will ever have more than
Right.
them. So why bother? Why
Mhm.
worry about it? Let's just celebrate number 8.
Right.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
Number
number
8! I don't even know if it's number 8.
I don't think it is, but I'm not sure.
6, 7, 8.
Is it 8?
I think it might be.
All right.
But it's just the
Yeah.
whole point is like,
Yeah.
if your kid was, my son was born 3 months after one of his best friends. And so his
Oh.
best friend just turned 5.
Mhm.
And every single day he's like, when's my birthday? When am I going to be
Right.
5? I'm like,
Mhm.
but you're never going to be 5
Mhm.
before him. So just you got to let
Right.
it go. Like,
Oh.
for the rest of your life, you're going to be 3 months behind. There's nothing anyone can ever do about that. So don't see it that way.
Right.
Don't see it
Mhm.
in that like linear way.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That is really,
Oh my
that's super
gosh.
present for us right
Yeah.
now.
Mhm. Yeah, that's hard.
All right. Well, what's the last one here on our list? This is huge for me, at least. As we're all figuring this out ourselves,
Mhm.
we're also teaching our kids. We're
Mhm.
modeling to them how to manage these feelings around
Yeah,
comparison.
this is huge.
Like
Yeah. Mhm.
when my kid comes home and is like, how come we never go to Europe? Or everyone else went to so and so here on a vacation.
Right.
Like, that's an opportunity for us to model, and sometimes we do a better job than others.
Mhm.
But when we can figure out how to manage the feelings of comparison ourselves, we can teach that to our kids.
Right.
And I do put a fair amount of energy into showing my kids that, like, there's no fair, there's no equal, like, you, like, even just between them, right? Like, you are all different and you're all going to have different experiences. This concept of fairness doesn't really serve us. Like, there's no such thing because it's just different.
Right.
And so when we teach our kids about comparisonitis, like, first of all, we have to have some grasp on it ourselves.
Right.
Or we're just teaching them to compare themselves to other people.
Right.
And it's just a waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so,
yeah, my son struggles with that in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he, he was born with congenital heart disease.
Yeah.
And so they told us right from the beginning that when he went through his open heart surgeries, that the medications that he would be on that kept him sedated and quiet, like basically in a coma, alive, yes, alive too, yes, but in a coma for, the 6 weeks, that it would drastically affect his learning abilities.
Right.
And so he is constantly comparing himself. Why am I not,
why don't I get it?
Yeah. Why don't I get it?
And
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And why, am I in 6th grade and I'm in 5th grade math, and I spin it for him and I'm like, that's where you're at.
Right.
You didn't have the same start that the rest of the kids had. You have all of these things that were stacked against you, but look how amazing you're doing.
Right. And look at all the lessons you learned and the strength it gave you to survive.
Right. Exactly. Right.
There's other places that you are stronger and more spiritually evolved.
Oh my God.
He's
it's
amazing. Just different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fair. It's just different.
Exactly. And that's what we try to tell him, is that math is not everything in life, and that his strengths, even though he struggles with math, he doesn't struggle with this or that or the other thing, and that's where he's gifted, and so, so just being able to spin it for them that way is huge.
Just I tell my kids a lot too, there's always going to be someone ahead, whatever ahead means, and there's always going to be someone behind.
Yep.
And so just don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Just don't worry about it. Mm-hmm. We're all of us are in the middle, and if we're not in the middle in one thing, we're in the middle in another thing. It's just not worth the time and energy to worry about what level of math you're at, especially in a school system that's whack anyway. Why are we comparing kids? Why do we even have levels for math?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I even had to explain that to him. I was like, they call it that because that's the grade that it usually goes with, but it doesn't mean that it's actually that math, and the teachers even explained it to me that way, so why don't we call it something different, Yeah.
And we have to teach our kids these lessons through a really weird, chaotic world. But it's beautiful too. So that's what we got for you on comparison. Take a quick break, and then we're going to give you the inspired action magic of just taking some little shifts in your mindset, doing some journaling, and the feng shui ninja moves to get this stuff really cleared up and relieve a little of the pressure in your life. So we'll be right back. Let's face it, no two lives are the same, and there are no one-size-fits-all tips and tricks. We love connecting with you on the podcast, but remember that if you want game-changing results, one-on-one coaching is where it's at. You can access our programs at connectedgrowthcoaching.com, and we will walk you through the unique circumstances that arise in your life and your home. All right, we're back. This is the part of the podcast, if you're new to listening, where we give you some inspired action.
So good. Really tuning into the internal awareness and the external awareness, right?
Here's what's going on. We all experience it. What do we do about it?
Right. Yeah. Tools, right? Instead of having just, talking about it like we were talking about earlier, just instead of talking your way around in circles, here's some tools to do something about it, to shift forward.
So I call these journal prompts, but they're really just here's something to ponder.
Yeah.
Pen to paper always results in pretty incredible aha moments. Or pen to keyboard or finger to keyboard, whatever it is for you.
Just the physical
the stopping instead of thinking about it while you're at your kid's sports game, or while you're driving, actually to sit down and write it out in some way for you. But the thing I would ask you to think about today is how can you allow others to be an inspiration rather than a standard that you're supposed to live up to?
I love that.
Right? So instead of seeing all these beautiful things in our lives, beautiful people, beautiful businesses, whatever it is, as like the way it's supposed to be, just see it as an inspiration. And
celebrate it.
I was telling Jen earlier today, like I pulled up next to a really gorgeous car driving yesterday, and like I was just had all these thoughts about the car, and some of them started spiraling to places I didn't want to go. Like, I wonder if I'll ever be able to afford a car like that, and like, how does someone come about a car like that? And just like waste of time thoughts. And I was like, just got quiet for a second, and the thought that popped into my head was, how exciting that a car like that even exists in the world. And I literally like started like dancing. I was like, that is just so freaking cool. So when you can see what other people have, whether it's like a following or a business or money or a house or like whatever it is you're comparing to, a fancier birthday present. See it as an inspiration, like celebrate it as something exciting that exists in the world. Just like honor it for what it is, so that you can honor you for what you are, and honor your car for what it is. Like, I love my car.
Yeah, right.
My Toyota Sienna is the bomb.
I know.
This other car was cool too, but just that mindset shift of like, how exciting is that, that it's possible someone could fly on a private jet.
Right. And when you're celebrating, right, when you raise your vibration to celebration
total
mode,
shift.
Yeah, total shift, and that the manifestation that happens around that energy is incredible, right? I just got full body chills, just like I'm sitting up straighter, you know, and there's just this whole vibration that shifts around it. And that is really how you manifest beautiful cars like that, right? You shift your whole, you know, your whole being around it. Yeah.
So start looking around your world and just saying like, how exciting. How exciting. And allow that to be inspiration rather than a standard that we're all supposed to live up to, because there is no such thing.
I loved your sub level of that's exciting, which is
we were talking about some relationship stuff last week, and also some things in our business that weren't going as we expected, and I think it really stemmed out of some relationship issues. And I was like, well, I mean, the key is almost always curiosity. So what if we just say, that's interesting, right? Like, we have some situation in a relationship, and instead of like getting all wrapped up in it, just stop and go, that's interesting, or how interesting. And it just shifts the energy. And so for me, in terms of comparisonitis, it's not how interesting, although that might work too. It's more like, how exciting. Like,
that's a total shift.
Exciting that someone could have a business with 22 employees, or that someone could have a family where every single kid has their own unique passion, or someone could have a family where they travel like 3 times a year, like whatever it is, whatever your mom comparison of the week is.
Absolutely. So important.
So how do we shift it in our spaces, Jen?
Okay, so feng shui, we are talking about the knowledge and self-cultivation area. So this area is really tapping into your inner wisdom and your intuition, right? And knowing and being in touch with exactly what works for you, right? So it's just having that strengthened, that muscle of knowing what works for you, be really strong, so that you can do the celebrating for other people, because you're like, oh, that is sweet. I mean, I don't know that would work for me because I prefer to have things like this way, but that's amazing for them, right? You know, that sort of thing. And so this area not only, you know, resonates with that deep knowing of self and tapping into your intuition, but it really relies on you being quiet and meditative. And I've used this metaphor before, but it's sitting on the mountaintop, right? Like sitting on this mound of knowledge and just soaking it in, you know, from the peak up there, you know. And
Jen does this for us in our partnership. I'm the loud one, I'm the crazy one, and Jen's like, let's get quiet and think about it. And then she has some brilliant idea, and then I make it happen.
And then you make it happen. I know, it's the perfect union.
So good.
So yeah, so that, you know, this area it needs to have a semblance of quiet, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're in your knowledge and self-cultivation area, notice whether you have, you know, many distractions or influences from the outside world, such as, you know, magazines or newspapers or electronic devices or TVs, you know, anything that's bringing that noise of media, you know, that sort of thing that's leading you down and away from your own, you know, core self and what works for you. I think we just get so distracted by all of the things that are out there and all of the choices that we have out in the world, that if we can just zoom in and make sure that this particular area doesn't have those outside distractions there, then that will help the energy flow within our space, which then reflects the energy that is going on within ourselves. So it just helps us maintain.
So
that.
if you subscribe to People magazine, the place to keep it is probably not your knowledge and self-cultivation
yeah, exactly.
area.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing wrong with People magazine if that's your gig,
yep.
but maybe don't keep it in this area.
Right, exactly.
Maybe keep it in your fame area.
Right, yeah, the things you look forward to. Yeah, exactly, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's that comparisonitis, you know, like if you're looking through People magazine and all you see is, you know, the you know, supermodels and, you know, celebrities that are basically paid to make themselves, you know, look a certain way, you know, and you're trying to compare yourself to that all the time. It's a miserable place to be, you know,
right.
It's hard. So, yeah, so just cleaning that area out, and also just any kind of like visual noise that's going on in there. And what I mean by that is just clutter, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Anything that makes you feel distracted and less than and just off of your, you know, your path. So, yeah.
Or objects that make you think of someone who's maybe not necessarily the healthiest one.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like toxic kind of things. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Or it makes you feel like you're not enough, you know, that you're doing it wrong, you know, that sort of thing.
So just looking at your space and going, what are the outside distractions here?
Yeah.
I love that. And that's so easy. Like if you only do that, if you only go in and remove magazines and newspapers and media devices, cover up your TV with a beautiful blanket or cloth or whatever, like just reduce the noise in that room, reduce the noise in your head. That's it's just like so easy and so effective and so amazing. Love it.
Yeah. And it's just clearing the path, right, for all the good things instead of being, you know, distracted by all the noise. It just opens up the clarity for the things that we discovered today in our own world.
So good.
Yeah.
All right. Until next week.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where are we at with like ratings and reviews? There's a super good one.
Oh, let's pick one.
And then we'll hop off, let you go about your day. But we want to thank everyone who's leaving a review. The ratings are awesome too, but the reviews really help other people find us. So sometimes we don't know who they are. It's mysterious. This one is N Madley, who I think knows Jen because it's a super cool review. It says, Jen's magic with feng shui has been transformational in my life. So grateful to her wisdom and this opportunity to experience both her and Amanda.
Oh, wow.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh. Holy smokes. That's amazing.
Like the reward of that, like just is so much inspiration to us to keep showing up and giving in this way and sharing with all of you what feels good to us,
Yeah.
right? Like if it feels good to us, it probably feels good to somebody else. So let's throw it out there.
Yeah. So if it feels good to you, this is how we spread the word out into the world. And this is how iTunes works, is that they basically say this is worth listening to, and so that's how the promotions happen.
Somebody took time to write a review.
Right.
There must be something good in here.
Yeah. So if you're loving it, then go out and give us a review, and we are so appreciative of it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, you guys.
And Madly, you're the best.
Oh, so good.
All right.
Until
next time.
Okay.
As always, thanks for listening. If you learned something today that can help the people in your circle, please help us get the word out by sharing. When you leave us a rating and review on iTunes, it not only warms our hearts, but it helps people find us. We are eternally grateful for your support, and we're looking forward to connecting with you next week. Until then, you can find the show notes at www.connectedgrowthcoaching.com. You can grab your journal and then get your shui on.